In the previous video, you saw how we improve our code so that car service has a bunch of dependencies that we can inject into it. Now, let's say that our application is massive, and when we create a new instance of car service, that instance gets stored inside of the heap, if you recall. The same for MOT service in here. And you also saw that MOT service might want to send an email, for example, if the car has an issue with the tires, for example, or something is wrong with the car. Maybe this service class might want to send an email using this service in here. Then the same with car service. So maybe car service needs to send an email for whatever reason. Then you can see that we might actually have duplicates in here. So have a look. Email service is actually twice inside of the heap. Now, coming back to our code in here, have a look. We've got MOT service and we also have car service. Both of these, they actually receive the same instance of email service. So in this case, it's not a problem. But let's say that the application is massive and now we have to manage all of these dependencies, and maybe it's not even feasible to actually pass email service at this point in here. So you see that the application is actually very small, but sometimes you have thousands and thousands of classes that you have to create and work with. Now, if you were to basically for each class that you have within main in here, you were to say new CarDAO, new email service, new MOT service, and then new car service. And then you can see that this can actually be a mess. Have a look. We're passing email service here and then right here. And basically we are taking care of object initialization. Now, if we have 1,000 classes, then we need to have 1,000 new extra lines just initializing things and then passing the dependencies in the correct order. And you can see that this can be really messy, right? So maybe you don't want to do this and you actually want to create new instances of the classes where they are used. But then you have the issue of having duplicate instances within the heap. And if you create a bunch of instances, so let's say that this is the email service, again here, and eventually the heap will be full and you basically have a Stack Overflow error, right? Because you can't really allocate more objects inside of the heap. Now, our application is very small, so this is very unlikely, but when you build enterprise applications, you have thousands and thousands of classes. What is the solution? Well, the solution is to use something known as the singleton pattern. So singleton pattern basically instantiates your class just once. So here, email service is just once in here instantiated. Then whichever class needs email service, they basically reuse the exact same one. Now, at this point, we're not going to actually implement the singleton pattern, but I'm just letting you know. But as we move to Spring Boot, you'll see that we'll use something known as beans, and beans by default, they are singleton unless you change it. But the benefit is that now you don't create a bunch of classes which are the same, right? And it means that you are managing the memory much better. It goes like this. Instead of us having to say new car, new email, new MOT, new car service, new, we get rid of all of this. So literally we get rid of all of this. And this is not the actual working code, but I'm just showing you how it goes. But then within each of these classes, so car service, for example, we simply stick an annotation in here. So usually it goes like bean, and you've learned about beans. Now with frameworks such as Spring, what this is doing is actually going off and instantiating this class for you and manage its life cycle. So basically you do the same for MOT service. You say at and then bean. There we go. And let's say that we've done for all of them. Now, let's say that email service has that same annotation. So actually let's just go inside. So let's just say that we have at and then bean as well. And you might see at component, or some people just use components. So they're all kind of the same thing, right? So component, you might see this. So if I go back to cart service, so instead of bean, let's just say component. And when we start learning about Spring Boot, you'll see all of this in action. So let's just say component. And what this means is this class will be instantiated for us. Now have a look, we have some dependencies in here. So email service, right? Now because email service has this annotation, which automatically gets instantiated, it means that in here, so at this point where we say, right, so we have a dependency, we can just use annotations such as auto wired, and we'll do this later, don't worry about it. The same with at inject if you are using Juice, which is another dependency injection library. But basically what they're doing, they're just saying, right, so I've got email service in here, go and find an instance and inject it for me so that I can assign it to this field in order for me to use it throughout my code. Now you can see that this approach is much better because now have a look. Within our main, we're not saying new keyword, so on and so forth. So this is basically using the singleton pattern. So when majority of these actually, so when you stick this annotation in here, MOT service is a singleton. And this means that, so if I open up car service, so car service has also email service in here. Now at this point, if we say in here at auto wired or at inject in here, this email service which is injected is the exact same one which is injected within MOT service. Now I'm just giving you a taste of these annotations, but we'll get to put all of this into practice once we move into Spring World. For now, I want you to instantiate the objects like so, because this is how you're going to learn how to put things together. Right here, you'll see all the dependencies, so get your hands dirty. But as we progress, you see how our code will become much cleaner and we will not need to do this later. If you have any questions on this section or this topic, please do let me know. Otherwise, catch me on the next one.